Happy Solar Sunday! I'm Jaime Greene, the Solar Queen, and it is Sunday, July 23rd. So happy Sunday to everyone. I hope you are staying cool during this little heat wave that we're having in the Southwest, California, and maybe other parts of the nation. But today I wanted to discuss why some of you might be getting true ups. And I made a video about this a while back on my YouTube channel. And so if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching on YouTube. And I'm going to ask you to make sure to like the video if you like it, ask questions if you have questions. And then also, if you haven't yet made the effort to subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate if you did. So it's your mom. Hi. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your solar system. Ty Gray says, hi, Jaime. Keep being great. Thank you. You too, Ty. Thanks for watching on LinkedIn. So if any of you have questions about solar, make sure to type them in. One of the great things about going live and live streaming is that I get to answer your questions in real time and you get to be a part of the conversation. So today I want to talk about what happens if you get a true up and why you might be getting that when you already have solar installed. So a video I put out maybe a year ago, people are saying, I got solar and I'm getting a true up, and this is under NEM 2.0. So the first part of this live stream, I'm going to talk about what happens if you're in NEM 1 or NEM 2, if you live in the state of California. And then also we're going to talk about NEM 3 and why you would be getting a true up. And it's going to be a monthly true up due to the net billing under NEM 3.0. So the first part will be NEM 2.0 or NEM 1.0 and why you might be getting a true up. And I'm going to talk about some of the thoughts, processes, and conversations I've had with homeowners and just my general take on it based on solar. So being in solar for, it's coming up on 5 years, which is wild. Okay, so people have been talking about the true up situation. Hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for giving the thumbs up. I hope you're doing well tonight. True ups are when, so I'm going to go quickly through the process of getting solar and what that looks like, and then what happens after the solar is turned on. So when you get solar, when you say, yes, Jaime, I want to get solar, and we go through the solar installation process, the final inspections pass, and then once that happens, the solar installer is going to submit your interconnection application to the utility company for interconnection or approval to operate. Israel's guitar journey. Hi, Jaime. Thanks again for your help. Oh, you're welcome. I was able to get my system under NEM 2 and just turned on a few days ago. Congratulations. So this is relevant for you, Israel. So you want to pay attention to what I'm about to say. So we'll use Israel as an example. His system, he just got interconnection. I have another homeowner who got interconnection last week. So what that means, interconnection is also permission to operate the solar system. In other words, you turn the solar system on or the installer takes it off standby, and now you're officially solar powered. And it's perfect timing because it's just heating up in the state of California in terms of temperature. For a while there, some of us were wondering if summer was even going to come, and now it is, because we've been having some triple-digit temperatures along California. Arizona is getting hit with 115, 120 degree weather. Same with Vegas, probably everything. So, and Israel saying was running, not Israel, it's your mom, was running air, washer and dryer, and still exporting energy at a negative true up on my bill. Thanks, Jaime. You're very welcome. So, so in the summertime, we're at the peak production, meaning we are maximizing our production for our solar system. And what we want to do is we want to be, if you're in NEM 2, so we're going to talk NEM 2 first, NEM 3 next. NEM 2, you want to be stacking those kilowatt hour credits into your net metering account. So when winter comes, because winter's coming in a few short months and our sun production drops dramatically, we want to have enough kilowatt hours banked in our net metering account with the utility company to then debit from those in the wintertime when the sun goes down and we need it for peak hours. If you're friends with me on Facebook or follow my Facebook page, you probably saw a post that I recently shared about what people are paying for peak and off peak for summer and for winter. And it's in the 40s and 50-cent range. It's no longer, I think I'm going to go to my Facebook page and check, but I'm pretty sure it is in off peak. In the wintertime, it's still in the high 30s, and that is a lot to pay per kilowatt hour. In the summertime, we're at 51 cents a kilowatt hour for peak, and off peak 43 cents a kilowatt hour, which is a lot of money. So, rates have more than doubled since I've been in this industry, and they're not ending anytime soon. I think I just saw a post that Con Ed in New York State is going to be increasing their rates by, I think, 43%, which is a huge increase. So solar in states like New York makes a lot of sense with all the incentives. Hey, Chris Hanley. Chris is in New York, and he helps homeowners in New York go solar, and he's helping them get the incentives to go solar in that state. So across the country, we are seeing rate increases, but when we get solar, the goal is to offset all of our usage for the entire year. And when we have net metering under NEM 2.0, NEM 1, or in other states that has NEM 1 or net metering and 100% offset or more, we are exporting to the grid in the summertime, and every day we're going to be debiting from them at nighttime when the sun goes down. But in the wintertime, our production drops, and we need that excess that we generated in the summertime to cover us for the wintertime. So for Israel's situation, and for another homeowner named Liz, she just got interconnection this week. It's really important that, firstly, we don't change our energy consumption patterns. Unless you know for a fact, like you're adding air conditioning or you're adding a car and you're like an EV and you're charging it, you're going to have to accept that if you didn't build in that buffer or that cushion or that anticipated increase in usage, that we really need to continue to maintain the status quo of our lifestyle. In fact, the best thing to do is something that we call load shifting. So if you have solar, you want to run the dishwasher during the non-peak hours. You want to do the laundry during non-peak hours. Anything that's heavy loads, you want to do them during the non-peak hours or during solar production, because for most utilities and their net metering agreement, if you will, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. In other words, most of our solar is generated during the non-peak hours. And so if we use the example of 43 cents a kilowatt hour, that's the value of the kilowatt hour. Yeah, so in summertime, off peak, 43 cents. That's the value of the kilowatt hour that was generated during the non-peak time of day. When 4 p.m. hits, if your system is still generating for you, so ours is still generating for us right now, and I'll pull it up so you guys can know how much energy we are generating. Our air conditioning just kicked in, so we're using probably solar and the grid a little bit. So our system at 6 o'clock on Sunday, July 23rd, is still generating 2 kilowatts hours of solar for this hour. So it's in hour intervals. It's in intervals. So our home is drawing 3.8, we're generating 2.1, and we're getting 1.7 from the grid. If it was earlier in the day when the sun was producing beautifully and our air conditioning kicked in, it would be completely solar powered. But let's pretend like the power went off and our house is only using 1 kilowatt hour right now, and we were generating 2. We'd be exporting 1 kilowatt hour during peak hours right now, because peak time of day, well, actually it's the weekend, so it's all non-peak, but during the weekday, we would be exporting 1 kilowatt hour for our home, 1 kilowatt hour of solar during peak hours. So when you export, the time of day that you're exporting your energy is the value of your kilowatt hour that you can use later on. And the smart meters that are on the side of our house, it timestamps and exports. So the utility company is keeping track of it. So this is why when you are doing big loads like dishwasher, laundry, things like that, to try and avoid doing those during the peak hours, because you should just do it during non-peak, either after 9 p.m. or during the day, so that exchange is truly a 1-to-1 ratio or exchange. If you have a chance, can you discuss switching to time of use rate plan? My installer is saying that I should reach out to SDGE to switch to time of use to make the most out of my system. I'm pretty certain that all 3 of the major utility companies in California with net metering 2.0 require you to move over to time of use. So it's going to be an automatic thing for you. It's just going to be one of those, which one's the best. So SDGE probably has 2 different time of use times. So you want to make sure that you pick the one where it makes sense for you in your home based on your energy usage, energy consumption, and when you're home. So that's what I would say. I literally wait to run the dishwasher, vacuum, etc. until solar is generating. Right now, my live status says I'm generating 1.3 and dryer is running, importing 0.8. Yeah, so it is, the sun production is dropping off right now in California. And so it's fine. We're in most utilities in California, the 3 major ones, which are PG&E, SCE, and SDGE, you're going to be non-peak is usually on the weekends for time of use. So on the weekends, it's okay. Oh yeah, air just kicked on, so we're importing 2.7. Yeah, so the your app, your monitoring app, depending on what kind of inverters you get, they're going to tell you your export, import, all that stuff. If you have a Tesla, Powerwall, in-phase battery, any of those batteries, the technology is going to tell you, export, import, how much you're using, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's hot. Air conditioning's running. We have our thermostat set to, I think, 76. So if it gets 76 degrees inside, our air conditioning kicks in. But I was having a consultation today with a homeowner who needs to get solar installed and a battery. She knows she needs to get a battery, but this is going to be under NEM 3.0. It's one of those conundrums, or one of those situations where she knows she wants to get air conditioning, and she just got an EV. But under NEM 3.0, you can only size up another 50% of your historic usage. With NEM 2.0, it used to be you could go up to 200% with justification and letting them know you're adding a hot tub or adding air conditioning or something like that, for you to go ahead and get to get the system size and the interconnection. But depending on when you got your solar and who you worked with, some people are never got enough solar to begin with. And if they've never got enough solar to begin with, they're going to be left with a true up, because they're using more. If say they got an 80% offset and they knew that, but let's pretend like they got an 80% offset. So if a homeowner actually needs 10,000 kilowatt hours or uses 10,000 kilowatt hours, but they only got enough solar for 8,000 to offset 8,000 kilowatt hours, they're still going to be left with 2,000 kilowatt hours to pay retail rates to the utility company. It's usually going to be on that anniversary date. So for Israel, for Liz, who just got solar, their true up is going to be a year from the date that they got their solar turned on. They are going to, if they got their system size properly, they will hopefully have no true up, and maybe even a little bit of a credit to use towards their gas bill, because that's what's going to happen. if you are enrolled in a clean energy agency, a third-party clean energy agency, say like East Bay Community, East Bay Community, Marin Clean Energy Company, and Marin Clean Energy, or Sonoma Clean Energy, or Santa Barbara Clean Energy, any of these third-party clean energy generation companies that are technically solar, wind, clean energy, those are trued up monthly, and they pay you out on the excess. If you overproduce, you're going to get a check from them. Like we got a pretty hefty check for this year's true up. I think it was like $275 from Marine Clean Energy, because we overproduced, because when we got more solar installed, we oversized it for future plans, because we knew this was the last opportunity or the last shot to get solar installed under NEM 2.0. So we sized it up for, say, a hot tub. So maybe we'll get a hot tub, or maybe we're going to get a second EV. So that, in those situations, you can justify oversizing, but now with NEM 3.0, you can't. But there was a time when solar reps were not sizing systems properly. And I don't have any names to name. All I know is I see the proposals, and even up until in April, there was a rep that sized somebody's home only to 68% under NEM 2.0. They would have been left with paying 40% of their electricity costs to PG&E, and it was just not a good situation. So they canceled the contract because they knew that was going to be the case. It's a little tricky now, because now he still needs solar, and now we're trying to work with the utility company to try and honor the NEM 2.0. We'll see if that works or not. So when you get solar, when you got solar, if you're under NEM 2.0 and you didn't get enough solar to begin with, you're going to end up with a true up. It is what it is. If you got a certain percentage offset, say 70%, and you still have 30% left, and you knew that was very typical under NEM 1.0, you may have a bit of a true up, because you're still left paying the utility for some of that energy. And that was back in the day when we called it tier shaving. So there are people that are in this situation where they just, in the very, very beginning, never got enough solar, and we're still said, oh, well, you'll have a small true up. But what's happening now is the rates continue to climb and climb and climb, resulting in maybe it's still 2,000 kilowatt hours that you're using, but the rates are going up. And so every single year, your true up's getting more and more expensive. The other thing that I'm seeing happening, and I've seen this before in the past, is people get solar. We size it properly, but maybe they were holding back on their consumption because it was so expensive to run the AC. So they just did it just to get by, just to take that edge off the temperature in the house. And so, believe it or not, even with solar, people think, oh my gosh, I have unlimited power now because I have solar. But that is not the case. Your system size, and based on the expected production of that system, is still limited. So it's not unlimited power or unlimited solar energy that you can use whenever you want. You really, truly need to maintain, and maybe it's extra hot for one week in the summer, and you run the air conditioning longer then, and hopefully you had enough of a buffer to absorb that. But you don't have unlimited power. So what happens is people get really relaxed in the way that they use energy, or when they use energy, and so they end up with a true up. And going back to the time of day that you're exporting your energy, the solar energy, it's not the same value. It's literally 8 to 10 cents more per kilowatt hour. Let me go back to that Facebook picture. It's or I guess I could look it up on my my phone because I have it here. It's still let's see, 43 cents for off peak, 51 cents for peak during the summer. So what is that? 8-cent difference. if you're using more power during peak hours and you're debiting from those kilowatt hour credits, there's still a value. There's still monetary value. So you're putting in 43 cents and you're getting you're debiting it at 53. So it's still not a true one-to-one exchange. This is why load shift as much as you can. The over generation in the summertime during the peak hours is going to help you carry through the wintertime. There have been instances where it looks like you overproduced, but it was overproduction maybe by 100 kilowatt hours during non-peak time, but you used more peak hours. And so it's not a true one-to-one exchange, meaning that the homeowner still had a small true up. I'm talking small, like under $100. If someone gets under $100 true up, I'm okay with that. Where I start getting concerned is when it's $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. I've seen true ups go all the way up to $6,000. It's a lot of money for a true up. Brian, watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Good afternoon. Has SDGE confirmed the price they will pay for each kilowatt hour given back to the grid? Well, it all depends on when you got solar and what net metering policy you're under. So I might be able to answer that if you tell me when you got solar and if it's on and which net metering agreement you are under. If it's NEM 2.0, it is it goes back to those rates, the retail rates. And for net metering, for buyback, even under NEM 2.0, for any overproduction, it's the fraction. It's like 8 cents a kilowatt hour. 3.0. Okay, so yeah, it's going to probably be about 6.5, 7 cents a kilowatt hour. Being that we have not had anyone go through true ups yet with NEM 3.0, I don't know. So it would be I've looked on the utility websites. They don't disclose that information. So it really is going to come down to the other thing with NEM 3.0 that's interesting is it's during what time of day the energy is being generated. So that's for battery export. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself in that. But a good rule of thumb would be 7 cents a kilowatt hour. So this is why, Brian, you don't want to oversize your system if firstly, the utilities won't let you go beyond 150% offset. I called them and they couldn't confirm a price yet. I think that they're honestly still figuring it out. But I'm telling all my homeowners, anticipate 6.5 cents to 7 cents a kilowatt hour buyback or payback for overproduction in a net billing situation, which is NEM 3.0. But here's the thing with sizing your system in California now under NEM 3.0, and whoever you consult with, you're welcome. If you haven't already gone solar and you want a consultation, you can reach out to me. But if you're going to forego the battery, which I don't recommend to any homeowner in California, believe it or not, I do not recommend it because you're still going to be solar powered for about 60%. Well, it really comes down to when are you home or when are you using the power? Like it really comes down to that. So if you meet with a solar rep and it's not me and they ask you, when do you mostly use the energy? It's not a creepy question because we need to size the system appropriately and we need to place panels where it most makes sense for your home and for your habits, how you use your energy. But then we need to size. If you don't get a battery, then you're going to be like between 50 and 60% offset probably. And then you're going to be left. You will automatically have a net billing true up every single month because if you're not storing the energy anywhere and you're not using it, that's the buyback or the payback that the utility is going to give you in exchange for that kilowatt hour that your system generated. But if you're not using it in real time or you're not putting it into a battery, it really starts to go, does solar make sense based on how you pay for it? So it's it's kind of technical and it's okay, but I will try and explain it in a second. So you need to, if you don't get a battery, you don't want to offset 100%, even 80%, probably not even 70%. then you certainly don't want to go 150% if you're not ever planning to increase your usage, like say with a air conditioning or an EV charging. And the reason why I bring those two items up is because air conditioning, if you use it like most people do, and if you live in a hot area, you're going to run it probably 3 to 4 months out of the year all the time. And that's going to be roughly 33 to 4,000 kilowatt hours, sometimes more, depending on how cool you're running it, that you have never accounted for before getting air conditioning. The second thing is if you're getting an EV and you're charging it from home all the time and you drive 12,000 miles a year, you're going to need, on average, you're going to need at least another 3,500 kilowatt hours that's not accounted for, or that you've never paid the utility company for that. So you combine those two, air conditioning and EV together, that's like 7,000 kilowatt hours more than you've never ever paid the utility company before. And this matters because if you have a historic usage of, say, 6,000 kilowatt hours of usage for the last 12 months, you're not going to be able to get solar and sized properly for you under NEM 3.0. Like, it's almost like you should wait to get solar until you have all these things added to your home, so you get a true picture of how much energy you're actually going to be using and needing, so that you can offset it with solar and not have to go through one system and then a second system. Like, I'd rather you bite the bullet, get those things done, pay what you have to get through it, so you have a true cost of running your home with no solar, no battery, with a utility company. And we'll use an average. Let's pretend 6,000 kilowatt hours was the case and you added 7,000 more because of AC and car, because these are real conversations I'm having with people. 13,000 kilowatt hours, and we'll just go ahead and use 50 cents because SDGE is already in the 70-cent range. So let's just be conservative and use 50 cents a kilowatt hour to run a house with 6,000 kilowatt hours, add an EV, add AC, and have a total of 13,000 kilowatt hours at 50 cents a kilowatt hour is $6,500 for electricity. And I just know even solar with a battery is still going to save you a ton of money. So that being said, with the condition that we're in with NEM 3.0, do I want to help people go solar? Yes. Do I want to help them now? Yes. But some people are in this situation where they're starting to, think, oh, I'm going to get solar, so I'm going to add this and I'm going to add that. And then we've got limitations of your main service panel. So it's like, it's all very individualized. And I love it. I love it when, I don't love it, I shouldn't say that, but it just really goes to show that your energy consumption is so unique from your neighbors, from your friends, from your parents, from whoever else who's getting solar. And so when people come through and ask on, like, say, Reddit, I hang out on Reddit, and sometimes I'll answer Reddit questions and give my 2 cents and whatnot. But I'll see the headline, is this too much for a solar system? Well, there's a lot going into that. That's a loaded question, because are they getting a roof? Are they getting a battery? Are they getting an MPU? Are they getting other things done? Or is it just solar? And if it is, then there's more information that needs to be asked, or, to be discovered, to be able to answer the question of whether or not they're being ripped off. Are they getting premium panels? Are they getting premium inverters? Are they, what is this true story? And people on Reddit will just jump in and answer the questions, but they don't really truly know what's going on in that house or in that home or if they're financing it, if they're leasing it, or if they're paying cash for it, to be able to tell you if they're getting a good deal or not. So, and one person's good deal might be another person's bad deal. Who knows? But this is where every solar system truly, truly is customized to the home. Not because we want to, but because it's really, truly necessary. There are people that work from home, during the daylight time, or there's people that go to work now and they don't come home until 5 o'clock and everything gets turned on during peak hours. It's a different system, different battery solution for different lifestyles. So under NEM 3.0. And that is, we want to do that. So I don't want people getting solar and a battery and then come find out they're still getting a true up because because things changed, or they didn't tell me that they were living more conservatively, and then they got solar and then thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do all this because now I have solar and it's unlimited power. It's not unlimited power. Even the batteries have limitations in how much energy they store. So Brian says San Diego should regulate the door-to-door salesman selling solar. Being in this industry and hearing I am not a door-to-door salesperson, and I know a lot of people that hustle and do that, and I hope that they're doing homeowners right, but I would tend to agree with you, Brian, because I've seen so many solar proposals where people are price gouged through the roof, and it's not necessary, but homeowners don't know, and then they feel like they're pressured to sign things. So anyone watching this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you're getting door-to-door salespeople, and I'm going to just say it, if you need a second set of eyeballs to go through and say, this is a good proposal, this is a bad one, this is terrible, or if you want to do business with me, I'd love to serve you, you can do that. But yes, it should be regulated to some degree because it's intense out there. So going back to why people might get a true up under NEM 2.0 is firstly, it was that they never got a big enough solar system to begin with. 2, they may have been holding back on the true way of using energy, and they let loose, and then now they're using more energy than they thought, that they were going to do. And so they naturally, or they, as a result of that, they're getting a true up because in other words, with solar now, you need to be using energy as if you normally would if it didn't matter how much it costs, because when you get your system size for solar now, that matters. I have peak negative 132 kilowatt hours, and that's 67. I think that's your credits, and off peak for 1,163, a value of $495. Baseline credit, a total of sorry, I should be wearing my glasses, $539 with $45. Monthly NEM charges negative $470. Could you please explain? Can I only use the peak for future peak? Yes, your banking, I don't know I think with PG&E, the way that they calculate the usage and where you're at, it's kind of like a running tally. So you just want to make sure, yes, everything that you're generating now during peak hours, you're banking it for later on in the year because just the nature of the sun production. So you want to make sure that, like in the summertime, it is really important to bank as many peak kilowatt hours think of it like you're doing this now for later. It's kind of like the idea of saving money for a rainy day. Well, the rainy day is going to come with solar, so you want to save it for then. When it comes to non-peak is a true 1-to-1 at all times. For non-peak to peak, it's more like a 1 to 0.85. So you put $1 in only to get 85 cents back, or, the value of that. Can off-peak be used for peak? Yes, but that just means it's like 1.5 times, 1 and probably 1.35 non-peak for every 1 peak kilowatt hour is probably the ratio. And it differs in the summer and the winter because the price gap in wintertime gets smaller, but the gap for summertime is bigger. In other words, during non-peak hours in the wintertime, runs 38 cents, and in the peak hours then run around 41 cents. So it's only a 3-cent gap, where in the summer times it's 7-cent gap. I have, Jay, thanks for watching on YouTube. I have PGE and solar time of use 4 to 9 p.m. peak. That's what we have. My question, Does using our solar electricity while off peak during sunlight reduce the PG&E baseline use penalty? That's an interesting question because I don't even see where the reduce the baseline use penalty is. I don't know. Typically the baseline is like 300 kilowatt hours. So I would say run your life off of solar energy during the solar production hours, because what's happening is if you're consuming your energy in real time for your home during non-peak hours or sun production, the meter is still probably going to spin backwards a little bit, because you're probably exporting at certain times of the day, exporting more to the grid than you are actually using during the grid. So in essence, yes, your baseline would probably reduce if that really truly mattered. And again, having had solar for 4.5 years now, they don't really show that baseline. If you have a copy of something that shows that, feel free to email it to me. You can do that at here. You can do that here. You can email it to me at Jaime@JamieGreene.com. But in theory, when you're using power during the day, during non-peak hours or even peak, and it's maintaining your home's usage or demand, I should say, not usage. Like even still right now, let's see, our solar at, what is it now, 6:30 at night, 6:30, we're still, and this is for one of our solar systems, we are still at net zero. We're not pulling anything from the grid, and we certainly aren't pulling anything from the Powerwall right now. And right now our Powerwall is on 100% backup. I have a funny story about that. I'll tell you in a second, but right now we'll go ahead and move it. I'll move it to 70% backup, 30% self-powered, and we'll see what happens. I'll keep an eye on as solar production drops, because right now, again, net zero. So our meter, if you think about your smart meter, it's like not doing anything. So it's like it's not spinning forward and it's not spinning backwards right now. So I'll keep an eye on it. When in a few minutes the solar production is going to really drop off, because the sun's going to go down and there's a tree right there and everything just stops. It's your mom. Thank you. You're welcome. I hope that makes sense. When you come up to true up in, I think for you, you're like 11 months out till true up. Let's talk about your true up and what that's going to look like. And that was a good question about baseline. Yeah, baseline. Typically, baseline used to be a tier 1, tier 2, tier high surcharge, and your baseline for tier 1 was always around 300 kilowatt hours. In some areas where you don't have solar yet, and you're still on the not time of day, but the tiered billing system, which there's still homeowners that use, say 700 kilowatt hours a month, where 300 of it is in tier 1, and tier 2 goes all the way up to like another 1,500, like another 1,000 kilowatt hours in tier 2. If that's the case with net metering 2.0, and if you're still on the utility grid and you haven't gotten solar yet, you will be automatically moved into time of use billing. And it's even going to be a little bit different with NEM 3.0. So there's still a lot that's out there. And as Jay said earlier, and I think he has another comment, thanks so much for baseline is based on a total true up. Thanks. So baseline is based on a total true up. Is there a real-time electricity use device we can add? I do know that some of the monitoring, like depending on what kind of inverter you get, will tell you your consumption. So Enphase is a good example of that. If you get SolarEdge with the battery, it's going to tell you consumption as well. There is a setting in there, and not every installer is going to make the setting be to show consumption. The best thing to do is really to go, not that people want to study their electrical meter or the smart meter, but the best thing that you really could do is from 4 to 9 p.m., you could go out and see how much your meter moves during that time. and just see how much energy are you truly using during peak hours, because that's really going to be the most important thing. Jay, let me know, are you solar powered yet, or are you looking into solar? Because that will help me answer some of your questions. My in-phase shows consumption. Yes, there is a component inside the in-phase monitoring app that where you can see consumption. Solar Edge, my Solar Edge, I have Solar Edge and a Tesla Powerwall. My Solar Edge does not show, my Solar Edge for my first system does not show consumption. And that's simply because it wasn't set up like that. And I don't know that they're going to go back and set it up. That's okay. With the Tesla app, I can see consumption. The other thing that you can do, and this is a little bit old school, not old school, but just very manual. You can log into your utility account online, and you can go and look at usage, and you can go in and see, overproduction. And then if the system's like, I have one homeowner who reached out to me, and they have a rental home. It has a small system, and they're getting a true up. And this is kind of what's several true up conversations are prompting why I'm doing this live stream, to educate and help people understand why they might be getting it. Well, they have renters in the home. When they got solar, the solar was a certain size, is a set system size. And every system based on the equipment degrades slowly over time. Like sometimes it's half a percent, sometimes it's a third, sometimes it's a little bit more, but it's going to degrade a little bit over time. Just the nature of using equipment, degradation happens. So they got the solar installed 10 years ago. And even 10 years ago, the solar panels were less efficient than they are now. And back then, their consumption wasn't nearly as much. And then they got renters in there, and they still pay the utility bill. They still pay because of the true-up situation. So, most landlords are going to build in a cushion, or if you will, a part of their profit margin to cover the utility bill. But you can't tell a renter, hey, chill out on how much air conditioning you're using, because this because of they don't care. It's not going to matter. And same with if you have an Airbnb and it has solar on it, you can't tell your short-term renters, hey, chill out on, don't, make sure when you leave the house, turn off all the lights and turn off the air conditioning and this and that, because we've got a limited solar system. Everyone's going to, I hope, do their best to size it properly. But in this situation with this homeowner with the rental and the true up, and what happened was it hit like 105 degrees, and it was hot. And sometimes heat and production and everything can make this inverter shut down because it doesn't want to overheat and things like that. Not that they tend to do that, but if they do, if it's direct sunlight, it can sometimes take a break. That what happened was the inverter went out. And so all of a sudden they're 100% powered by the grid. That is the way that solar is set up with any utility company. You're still grid tied. In other words, if the system shuts down for whatever reason and the grid is still up and going, you have power still. It's a seamless transition of energy. So they noticed that they were getting true up. The utility bill was starting to go up because they were completely on the grid. So they called it was with a Solar City system, and they called Tesla, and Tesla's like, well, we can't get out for 6 weeks. And that, for him, he thought that was terrible, which it kind of is, but it is what it is. So I said, don't cancel your appointment, maintain that appointment with them. And I tried to go, the house is like 2.5 hours away, so I can't go over and see if I could just toggle a switch and see if resetting it would help. But that being said, I said, just know you're going to it is what it is. And you're going to have a true up. And hopefully, since it's under a lease and since you still have warranties on the equipment, they can either, if they need to replace it, they can do an RMA and they can do a warranty and they can swap out the equipment. And it's just an inconvenience. And some leasing companies will reimburse you for lost production. And some solar companies will too. They will reimburse you for lost production if it comes down to the fact that it was indeed equipment that failed for whatever reason, which doesn't happen very often. it does happen, but it doesn't happen very often. So with that being said, I said, please, some people, and again, this wasn't on Reddit, it was on Nextdoor actually, another interesting little website or community, online community. But that being said, people were saying, stop making your lease payments. Don't pay them. I'm like, that is the worst thing you could do. Don't do that. That is not a smart thing to do. It is what it is. They will replace it. They will hopefully reimburse them for some of the lost production if it's deemed. And if the inverter's out, then they need to get someone out there and they will take care of the equipment. So they're in this situation, they're going to have a true up. Okay, so Jay says, yes, we have 34 panels, pool heater, 2 EVs. I think I need a refresher on how to read a meter. It's a digital number. So you just want to write down the number that it's at. And then at 4 p.m. and then at 9 p.m. go and read it again. And then whatever that difference is, it might be 30 kilowatt hours because who knows? It depends. If you have 34 panels on your roof, and I know you live in San Diego, and if you live inland, I know it is hot. So you have a large system. I know you're losing a lot of energy. So it could maybe be 50 kilowatt hours that you're using between 4 and 9 p.m. But if this is under NEM 3.0, I hope they only offset you 100% unless you're adding more and you got several batteries because you're going to need several. That 4 to 9 p.m. is really, really important. Actually, for time of use under NEM 3.0, you want from 4 p.m. You really want to know what are you using from 4 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next day. So I hope that helps. Just logged into PGE today. Oh, sorry, you're in PG&E. I thought you were in SDGE. Saw that 34 panels. Saw that with 34 panels, we generated $16 to $21 daily while on vacation. Yeah, because your energy consumption just probably dropped like crazy. You probably kept your pools going, or at least a sweeper. And then you really are only running your refrigerator and any other device like a wine cooler or whatever, deep freezer, things like that. You are likely, your energy consumption drops significantly, which then makes everything that your solar system is generating just go into net metering. But on the PG&E website, there's a delay or date, of a day. And we can only see the cost afterwards, like after heating the pool for a party. Oh, and you're in San Ramon. Okay, so yes, I'm in Marin County, so just across the east, the Richmond Bridge, which was closed for 20 freaking hours the other day. That was a nightmare. NEM 2.0 installed in 2016. Okay, so yes, you're good. You don't probably need. You're not on the batteries. I'm getting you and Brian Redford. He's STGE. I was getting you guys, the two of you, confused. So sorry about that. So, okay, so let's go back to, so for that example of the homeowner who has solar on their house for 10 years and the system equipment goes down, you're going to have a true up, especially if you are installed with a company that doesn't have a production guarantee, that doesn't reimburse you for lost production, like in a lease situation. The thing with one of the beautiful benefits of a lease, and we're probably going to see a lot more leasing happen now since the economy has gone crazy and interest rates have gone up. The cost to borrow money has gone up significantly. If you're not paying cash for a system and you don't want to pay a lot of money for financing right now or whatever it might be, leasing is becoming a popular option, mostly because, at least what I know with Sunrun and SunPower, which are two leasing companies that I use or can use, there is a 5-year, there's an option to buy the system outright at year 5. And the reason for that is because the solar leasing company has already taken the tax credit and they've already depreciated the cost of the system. And so it's fair market value, and you're going to go and buy it at fair market value, whatever is left in the value of that solar system. And then you can make payments off of that. But that being said, when you have a lease, there's a 25-year warranty on that system that no matter what, even with batteries, with Sunrun, I know for sure, If that battery stops, they have to replace the battery. So leasing sometimes makes sense in certain situations. Hello, Boomer Bob, watching on YouTube. Thanks for watching. So going back to why a true up might happen. If equipment goes down and it takes 2 months for equipment, or it can take longer, guys. I have a homeowner, God bless them. They're such nice people. They have had nothing but issues with their inverter and batteries. And if the inverter goes down and part of the system goes down in production, then they're only getting partial production. And for some installers, it takes a long time for them to get somebody out there. And then it takes a long time for them to do the RMA. That's the return merchant warranty or return merchandise authorization. That is a part of the warranty protocol for some of these equipments and installers. So if that's the case, it can take some time. So there are reasons why you might want to go with a solar company. And one of them would be like a Freedom Forever, who I do use. They do have production guarantees. I know Sunrun has production guarantees. SunPower, I believe, also has it. But it's just one of those things that you're going to need to think about when you're going with an installer. And I would be very, I love all the smaller shops, but be very, very wary of the one truck roll companies. You want them to be around and you want them to have experience. So vet them that way. Jay says, our friends just moved a week before NEM 3.0. They asked the seller to put their name on the PG bill to submit the paperwork and got NEM 2.0. Yeah, because that transfers. It will transfer with the new homeowners. So that's a good thing. And Brian says, one more question. So you will be under NEM 2.0 until SDGE makes the 3.0 final. No, everyone going solar now is NEM 3.0 regardless. The value of the payback of overproduction that they pay out once a year at your true up, that is what I don't know what each of the three major utility companies are going to pay out. My understanding is it's anywhere between 6 and 8 cents a kilowatt hour for all three of them. So I would just assume 7. But here's the thing. You don't want to oversize your system unless you know in 6 months you're getting an EV delivered. Because when I ordered my EV, it took 6 months for Tesla to deliver it. So I sized my system up knowing that. And if you know that, then just be okay that for 6 months, you're going to put $1 in and only get 8. Well, let's say this. You're going to put in 30 cents in to get 8 cents back out. So it's not there's no ROI. But if you know that's going to be, I'd rather you be looking for it when you get the car or whenever that's happening and just suck it up for those 6 months of waiting until whatever starts, being used, to do that and have it ready for you rather than get the solar system in it and then get it done and be like, oh no, I should have added enough for this and that. And then you have to go through the solar system, go through a second installation, which costs way more than just sizing it up. If you know it's going to be imminent in, I'd say, less than 12 months. My friends knew nothing about solar, and I told them they just saved $30,000 to $50,000 on electricity. Great solar. Yes, that is true. That is true. People, savvy home buyers are going to look for homes that have solar installed. Where we live in the Bay Area, thankfully, we have home values that maintain it. But where this could become problematic in other states or other parts of the state where maybe we don't, I think it's safe to say that I'm even it's crazy to admit this, but that the minimum house purchase in the Bay Area is at least $800,000. So we maintain that. But say it's an $80,000 solar system, which can very well be the case, depending on the size and batteries and all that. A home that's 3,000 square feet is going to use a lot more energy than a home with that's 1,500 square feet, obviously. Well, I can't say that for sure, but most likely it's going to be the case. But that that when someone has a solar system and they transfer it to the new homeowner, if they financed it, likely they're going to pay off the system and transfer ownership and warranties to the new homeowner, and it's going to be included in the price of the cost of the house. In other parts of the country, you're going to need to be very, very careful about that, and here's why. Appraisers might not appreciate the value of the solar system in comparison to the appraisal value of the home. So another reason to be like, it's just, it all is a case-by-case situation for most homeowners. Erica Ginsberg-Klempt on LinkedIn says, hi, Jamie. I hope I said your last name correctly. Great to hear your ideas. We are solar on wheels. Forget the installers. We use an assembler solar as an appliance. Okay, I don't know exactly what that means. I think I do, but that's awesome. Jay again says, FYI stats, PG&E 34 panels, 3,000 square foot home, a heated pool. Are you heating it with thermal or are you heating it with gas? 2 EVs. How many miles are you driving combined for those 2 EVs? And are you charging them all at home? See, these are like questions that I would ask homeowners. We minimize using AC in the pool heater. Okay, that's good. And our true up was $200 to $300. Well, you got a lot going on there. And if you have that big of a solar system, that much going on, true up of $200 to $300, I'm actually okay with. It's not like I'm actually okay. I'm actually okay with that, because your utility bill with what you just told me, I'm just going to pull out my calculator really fast. 34 panels. Let's pretend like if you got it installed in 2016, I'm going to guess you have 2 65-watt panels on your house. That's a 9 kilowatt system. 9 kilowatts. And let's pretend like your solar system generates 1,400 kilowatt hours for every kilowatt of solar. 12,600 kilowatt hours is what I'm going to guess that your house consumes, given what you just told me. And I bet you didn't have your EVs when you got solar installed. And so that might actually be what's causing the $200, $300 true up. And if that is the case, Jay, you're getting a heck of a deal, because you can't go to the gas station and fill up for less than $5 a gallon in California. So it is okay. The other thing I want you guys to know that have solar, especially under NEM 2.0, it is completely okay to get a true up. It's okay. And it's okay that you got solar and your system's producing everything it was meant to ever produce and designed upon and all that. And if things change and you get a $200, $300 true up, it's okay. It really is. Because think of the alternative. What is the alternative? For Jay, if he truly had a system designed for 12,600 kilowatt hours and he's paying for today's, nothing's changing, it's always going to be 12,600 kilowatt hours. In 2016, he was paying 18 cents a kilowatt hour. So that's only $22.68. But 12,800 kilowatt hours at we'll go with 40 cents. 12,800 times 40 cents. That's $5,120 you would be paying if you didn't have solar. So for you to have a $200 to $300 true up, I'm perfectly okay with that. Okay. Brian says, they oversized me 110%, but I'm getting a Powerwall too, so I have no choice at this point. Well, okay. I mean, it is what it is. It's done. That's good that you have that. Hopefully you have, now I'm curious for Brian, how big the system is, how many kilowatt hours he uses, when the vast majority of energy is done or used, and is your one Powerwall going to be enough to carry you through in the wintertime from 4 p.m. to 8 a.m.? And then where are the solar panels going? So these are all things that need to be answered or asked during a discovery call or appointment under NEM 3.0 now. The good thing is you're getting a battery. So that makes me happy. Hopefully you oversized it by the 10% because you're going to use future usage. And even at this point in time, Brian, if that is what it was and they did a good job explaining it to you and it's underway, the good news is you're redirecting where you're spending your money, otherwise to SDGE, to now your solar system that you're going to hopefully, I think probably ownership, and you'll get the tax, hopefully have the tax credit, tax liability to take advantage of the tax credit for the solar and the battery. So regardless, at this point in time, it is better than staying with utility at 65 cents an average kilowatt hour credit or kilowatt hour cost in SDGE. So that's where, but there might, if you don't have enough storage, you're going to have plenty for this, so for the home. But if you don't have enough storage, you may end up with a true up bill monthly for whatever the solar and battery doesn't cover for your home on a month to month basis. So you're likely going to see true ups in the wintertime. Israel, thank you for taking time from your family on Sunday evening. This is very helpful info. Well, I do solar Sundays, and I think they're probably out there right now. This is kind of, I used to do this a lot more. I'm trying to get in the habit of every single week on Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But we just got my husband picked up the game Cards Against Humanity, the family version. So we played it last night for the first time. It was hysterical and funny, especially if you don't mind a little bit of poop and fart humor, which my kids and even my husband and I still laugh at hysterically. So I've never played the adult version. I can only imagine what that's like. Erica, Gizmo Power, mega electricity generating appliance is solar on wheels, a carport, an EV charger. Reducing costs, soft costs for interconnected residential, commercial. I'm so curious, is this like community solar or is this for individual homeowners and individual businesses? Maybe on LinkedIn. Send me a message on LinkedIn. I'd love to learn more about your product. So Jay says, okay, Jay is the one in San Ramon. Gas pool heater and electric heat pump. Okay, for, is the electric, okay. Heat pump. Is the electric heat pump for the house? Heat the pool 2 to 3 times a year. Hardly use AC. We charge EVs at home with free sunlight. Still blows my. I know. It's wild. So here, Jay, you probably have at least a 200 amp service panel. We have a 100 amp service panel. And yesterday it was hot, and I was doing the dumb thing of we have a 100 amp service panel. We have a Tesla Powerwall with the gateway with the 200 amp gateway, but still we managed to pop our breaker by running our AC and charging my car at the same time and doing some stuff around 6:30 in the evening, which made our main breaker do the thing it's supposed to do, which is break. Like it's supposed to break. And it was the first time running AC and charging my car at the same time. So if you live in a house with a 100 amp service panel as your main, do not do EV charging and AC at the same time because it will. So we got this notice from Tesla from our app saying your grid is down and now you're on backup power. So instantly I text my neighbor to the left, a couple houses down. Hey, did you lose power? No, we're good. Okay. And then I text my friend maybe 10 houses down to the right. Hey, did you lose power? I don't know. We just landed in San Francisco. I'm like, okay. She goes, let me do some research or ask around. And she texts me back, nope, we got power. And so I'm like, okay, so it's isolated to the home. And mind you, we don't run our air conditioning very often. It's only when it gets really, really hot. And it's been hot. But I know that we overloaded the main and it did its job and broke, but thankfully we had battery power. And then my first thought was, oh gosh, it's the AC, or maybe everyone's using too much AC right now. And so the grid's gone down. We went to PG&E, we checked it out and everything. So note to self, note to people, don't overload your system, which EVs are going to do that. Even without solar, if you live in an older home with a 100 amp panel and you're running lots of loads. So just know that it might. And so we quickly figured it out. We reset the main, the system came back on and all that. So we're aiming for 25 kilowatts to 10 kilowatts. Okay, great for renters. Thanks for doing this live chat. You're welcome. Okay, yeah. So message me. Send me a message on LinkedIn. We'll have a conversation. Pop Day Jr. Thumbs up. Thanks for watching on YouTube. And yes, thank you. You're welcome. And yes, we'll do. Okay, good. And then Brian Redford, I don't have AC or electric vehicle. Oh, that's just a lot. That you're in San Diego. Okay, I'm getting you to identified well. So yeah, so those are going to be things that you're going to be thinking about. I mean, maybe you don't need AC where you're at in San Diego, and you don't have an EV yet. But down the road, if you ever do, you just know you have a 10% buffer for charging the car. And if you're like me, I mean, I don't drive very much. I drive maybe 8,000 miles a year, and all I need for that. So here's the math for EV charging and sizing enough for charging your car from home. The general rule of thumb is 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So instead of, say, the average 20 miles per gallon, it's 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So for my situation where I drive 8,000 miles a year, I'm going to take 8,000 and divide it by 3.5. So I added 2,300 kilowatt hours to our house, or made it so that we had enough to generate 2,300 kilowatt hours, which at the end of the day, it's probably only like 1.5 kilowatts of solar. For that it's not, that's 1.5, probably 3 extra panels just to charge my car with 400 watt panels. I know these are numbers and it's probably over your head, but it's okay. It makes sense to me and everybody else who sells solar that probably understands this. But that's all you really need for 8,000 miles. But if you drive 12,000 miles, or some people drive 20,000 miles, say we'll use the 20,000 miles, 3.5, that's 5,700 kilowatt hours. So you need to make sure you size it for the mileage that you drive and how much you're going to charge from home. Because that's a big difference from 2,300 to 50. That's 3,300 kilowatt hours difference based on just mileage. So that's that. So that's why, okay, going back to why people would get a true up. They didn't size their system properly the first time, and that might not have been any fault of your own. It might have just been the salesperson saying, this will be plenty, and yeah, you're going to have a small true up, but really it may have left you with 30 or 20%, which if you got solar, 7, 8, 9 years ago, your true up is getting more and more expensive, even though your usage has stayed the same. And that's because kilowatt hour rates have gone up dramatically in the last 5, 6 years. The second reason might be is because you added things to your home that you didn't use before. Common theme for this last year, believe it or not, huge spikes in the wintertime. And then when I saw huge spikes in the wintertime, I was like, what are you doing differently? Are you using those little space heaters? And everyone said, yes, I am. But not very, it doesn't matter. They're huge energy hogs, and they will make your usage likely double from what it normally is, because space heaters use a lot of energy a day. And some of them were using multiple ones. So something changed. Like you got a hybrid, or you started using the little space heaters and whatnot. So that might be why. Can NEM 3 ever be reversed, or did PG&E somehow make it binding and permanent, and the 3.0 monthly true-up is a hidden stab at solar industry? Jay, the CPUC is the one that, the CPUC, the California Public Utility Commissioner, is the one that authorized this change. And it was because of the 3 utility companies lobbying for them to change this. So yeah, I'm 100% certain it was politically backed up. Andrew Grotsky on Facebook says, what? I don't know what you're saying what to, so let me know what you're saying what to, and I'm happy to answer your question, Andrew. Jay says, reminder that all gas appliances will be required to be replaced with electric appliances. That is another. Okay, so this is another thing. So California in 2027, if you have a water heater that is gas powered right now, and it needs to, so it's not one of these things where you have to go out and replace your gas water heater with an electric one come 2027. It is the situation of, if you have an existing gas water heater and it needs to be replaced, the new building code will require it to be electric. So this is going to increase people's electric usage. Come 2029, it's going to apply to everything else. Furnaces, cooktops, I think are I want to say that cooktops are, what's the word? Exempt from this, because think of all the apartments with gas cooktops. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is coming from the clean air quality, like the air quality people. So if you're, I'm not going to say that, well, I am going to say it. If you have a gas furnace that's old and you want to replace it with another gas furnace, then do that. If not, replace it with a heat pump. Probably about the same in cost, but an electric heat pump is going to be much more efficient. They're about $18,000 to $20,000 from my understanding, but they're electric and they replace heating and cooling together. And there's sometimes that counties will have rebates for switching gas furnaces over to heat pumps. So check with your county sustainability website and see what kind of rebates might be available to you. Yes, the CPUC equally guilty for sabotaging new solar customers. CPUC is not immune to their own scandals. Yeah, I mean, I went to the several rallies last year to put a stop to this. I even spoke before the CPUC board to say, please don't do this. Because for some reason, the utility companies are out saying, oh, it's all the people's fault that have or that are wealthy. They're making all the middle to low income people pay and suffer. That is just not true, because most people that are getting it, at least the vast majority of my homeowners, are middle class. They're, they're only probably maybe a few paychecks away from something catastrophic if something were to happen. That I was helping, and it still helps them. So yeah, so the CPUC really did a damage to the solar industry, and not just the solar, but to people, to Californians. Please try and do a video explaining the negative impacts of AB 205, the minimum electricity bills based on income. This is not going to have I don't know how it's going to affect solar customers yet, but this is going to be an added cost to what you're already paying, meaning every homeowner out there, every renter out there. That is going to be a minimum. Think of the $10 connection fee that you're paying Israel for your solar system to be grid connected because of exporting import. Think of it like that, but now for just electricity in general. So it doesn't matter. And so what that's what my understanding is. And I don't know how it's going to affect the people that have solar. And if it does, hopefully it's the minimum amount. But I think it's, again, it's asinine in my opinion. Wealthy? I wish. Just trying to save money in the long run. I know, which is what most Californians are doing. And it does become political. And, the governor probably could have come in and done something. But I think the governor has aspirations and doesn't want to tick off the 3 major utility companies that might be funding campaigns. I'm just saying. Hopefully I don't get in trouble by YouTube for saying that, but it is my opinion. And I think that's the case. There are other states where governors stepped in to stop things from this happening. But that's not what our governor chose to do. So, and it's not like there's a huge penetration of solar in our state, let alone the country. But California does lead in residential solar, but not like where it should be by any means. I mean, the good news is the federal tax credit got bumped back up to 30% and extended another 9 years we're at right now. So that is one good thing about where we're at right now. There are still no state incentives for going solar. There are in other states like New York, Illinois, New Jersey, other states like that. Jay, now that NEM 3 has passed, when will non-solar customers get reduced? It's never going to happen. I watched 2 to 3 hours of CPUC NEM 3 hearings, and everyone speaking was against it, then passed. Yeah, they, the way that public comment works, they have to hear all public comment until the public is done speaking. But I think they already had their mind made up. So it's just a waste. It was just to buy time and waste a lot of people's efforts and energies. It would have been great if they actually worked for the people of California, not in favor of the utility companies. So yeah. So even at the end of the day, the utility companies are still a partner in solar, and it's important to recognize that. And we are exporting energy to the grid when we're not using it. We are importing it from the grid when their solar is down or solar is stopped producing. And if you're in NEM 3.0 and you have a battery and the battery is depleted, then you do need to get your energy from the grid. So there is some of that. Okay, so I want to show you now what's going on, but this is kind of funny because our air conditioning kicked in again. So right now, the solar production, about 45 minutes ago, the production was at like 1.8. Now it's at 0.7. Our home's demand is 3.5. Some of it's coming from our battery right now. If I moved our settings to be 100% grid and so battery backup, I'll do that. And we'll give it a second to refresh because then it'll show that our demand. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so our grid, so it just refreshed. It's showing that solar is set 0.7 is going towards the power wall, and 3.8 is from the grid is matching our home's demand. So because we're in non-peak kilowatt hours, we are debiting at a non-peak kilowatt hour rate, even though it's 7 p.m. on a Sunday night because of the way that the time of use is set up. So we're debiting from our kilowatt hour credits. And it doesn't matter when that kilowatt hour credit was generated because it's non-peak. So that's that. You just need to know that when it comes to NEM 2.0, NEM 1.0, and if you get a true up, if there's a true up because of faulty equipment and it's still under warranty, you need to reach out to your solar rep or to the solar installer and get someone out there to create a warranty ticket and have someone come out and make sure everything's working so that you're not going to be left with a true up. And that's going to be the case for most people if they got solar installed by a company that doesn't have or offer production guarantees. And even then, it's not going to cover 100% of your true up. It's going to cover a portion of it. And it's going to be a reimbursable situation. And its mom says her system. So we're kind of right there, neck and you're not that far south of me. So we're about on the same production curve right now. Yeah, so that's cool. It's really, I kind of geek out on this stuff. It's really, I'm such a not a sexy topic to talk about, but I get excited to talk about it because it's fun to understand how your equipment is working for you to generate power from the sun. Okay, so for air conditioning just kicked off, so we'll see what happens. Here. So I can't really see it, but that being said, that's why you would get a true up. And when you want to be checking and making sure your solar system is generating for you at least weekly. And if you're good about it, check daily. And if you notice your production on your app dropping off and not producing for several days, you need to reach out and find out why. And maybe there's lost communication between the inverter and the solar, the app. And it might still be producing. And another way to check that is go to your utility online account and see, are you getting energy from the grid? If that's the case, then there's an inverter down. Something's going wrong with the equipment. Call the utility company, or not the utility company, sorry, call the solar installer. So monitor your system, check in on your utility usage every now and then. And if you increase your usage, I kid you not, a couple years ago, I met with a homeowner. He didn't realize that getting an electric vehicle and charging it home would increase his usage. So it was one of those things where, I could see where someone might forget that, but he was charging his car from home, like with a plug-in, like a regular plug-in. So he might might have just gone over his head, and that's okay. But that is why you may be getting true up. And then I mentioned this at the beginning, degradation happens, but it's not super significant. It's gradual over time. So let's talk about NEM 3.0, and then I'm going to wrap up the live because you guys are amazing who's still watching. Thank you so much. And thank you for asking great questions because it's really, really helpful. Sunshine City Solar Light from watching on YouTube. Hey, y'all. Hand of pink waving. Hi. I don't know what that means. But thanks for watching. So NEM 3.0, here's what happens with NEM 3.0. There is no 20-year agreement. There is an avoided cost calculation. And even then, guys, I'm not that smart to be able to tell you what that actually means right off the top of my head. But I can explain to you in layman's terms, or in simplicity, simply, there's the right word. Simply is that on a month-to-month basis, if you sized your system, if you had your system sized without a battery, figure 60% of the solar, say you got a 60% off, let's say 50%, we'll use 50-50. 50% of your energy is coming from solar. The thing with solar is you need to use it. And so people like It's Your Mom, myself, Israel, when we start watching our production, I always use my head and shoulders for an example. But this is like right here, nighttime. Right here, sun's coming up, production's increasing. This is like 1 o'clock, noon, 1 o'clock. Peak of production right here. And then as time passes, the production drops off and you're back at the sun's gone down and you're no longer solar powered because it's nighttime. And they haven't come out with moon solar for a week out of the year. I'm totally joking. But I'm not joking. There's no solar, there's no lunar power yet. So in other words, if this is the time of day, say 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or let's say 9 to 6 p.m. is the time that most people are at work and commuting to work and to home. If no one's home and all this production is being generated during my pretty face, but it has nowhere to go in like a battery, you just got a bunch of solar and you're not using it, except for on the weekends when you're home. So it's going to go to the grid and they're going to give you a kilowatt hour net billing, a net metering credit that you will get paid out on the anniversary of going solar. Anniversary meaning one time a year. So during the rest of the time, so you're using energy here and you're using energy here because that's when everyone's home. You're buying power from the grid, and that's retail rates. So every month you're still going to have a bill that you're going to pay to PG&E, SCE, SDGE for the energy that was never ever generated during solar, during sun production, and you're not even home to use it during this pretty face time. So unless you have a battery. So if you're these type of homeowners who are getting up before dawn, going to work, solar comes on, and you have a battery, and your battery is my pretty face, and you have enough storage to store up all the energy that's being generated during this time, you're going to be okay because you're going to be able to use the storage for this time of day and this time of day and hopefully throughout the entire year. But we know, just like a daily production from here to here, if you don't have a battery for here, you're buying it from the grid. And just like in the wintertime, production is here, summer is here, and then fall and winter. So winter, into winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. It's the same theory or idea with your solar production for the year, for your home. We still use more power. Our power doesn't really change all that much in the wintertime unless you're using those space heaters, which you shouldn't use those space heaters unless you are prepared for it. But even still, you're going to be pulling from your battery a lot for powering space heaters. But some people might only need one battery. Some people might need two, and some people might need three. Or in other words, depending on how much energy you use during peak hours until, say, 4 p.m. until 8 a.m., 9 a.m. the next day, that is the number of kilowatt hours that you need to make note of. And we can get this from interval data from your utility company. There's something called Green Button Data. You can download it, and it's usually in an hour interval. You can download that, and we can look at the hours of when you're actually using energy for the most part of the day and get you not only 100% offset for the entire year, but enough storage to put that offset into the battery to use on a daily day-to-day basis. If we pay $200 to $300 true up under NEM 3.0, any idea what we would roughly pay under NEM 3.0 with solar, no battery, and with a battery? Oh man, that's a loaded question, Jay. I say it's not worth it. I'd still stay with the $200 to $300 true up. It's not worth it to add more solar, and even if you did, it's not $200 to $300. So let's divide that. Let's use $300. $300 divided by, let's go with 40 cents. 750 kilowatt hours. That's all you're getting. Like, that's all that's worth. It's not even 1 kilowatt of solar. 1 kilowatt of solar would likely offset that, maybe 2 depending on time of day, but it's not worth it. So stick with what you have. And then when your net metering 2.0 agreement has come to an end, then you need to consider that. And if you got it 6 years ago, or if you got it in 2016, you have 13 years left of your net metering agreement. It's not worth it. I would not give up NEM 2.0 for $200 to $300 true up. I hope that helps. So it really, when it comes to true ups for NEM 3.0, I don't want to use Jay as an example, but for, who would be a good, we could use Jay as an example. If he went to solar, if he gave up NEM 2.0 to offset, to add 2 more panels, or 3 more panels, let's call it 4 more panels. So 400 times 4 is 1.6 kilowatts of solar. That's going to probably generate for him 1.6, and he's in San Ramon. Let's say he has no shading. It's perfect south facing. Let's say it's 1,500 kilowatt hours. He's going to get 2,400 kilowatt hours out of that. If he doesn't have batteries, he's going to send energy to the grid for a little portion of the year. But he would have to be working from home everybody has to be home during the 9-hour production. Otherwise, this is going to force them likely to get 3 batteries, even if they're power walls. So, Jay, it's not worth it. Don't do it. Because that would be to avoid the true up. And then if you don't have the batteries, you're just sending all this power to a utility company that you can't use when you want to use it. So that being said, if you don't get a battery, you certainly need to make sure you don't get too much solar. So you're not, again, putting in the dollar to only get 20 cents back. Or I guess that would be, $1 in to get a quarter back. You don't want to do that. That's bad. That's not good. Solar plus storage is the key, and you want 100% offset at the most if nothing else is going to change. and have enough storage to carry you through the peak hours till the next day. That's like one thing I would stress. And then we need to know when, if you're the kind of people who are working all day long, we need to put as many solar panels on the west facing plane so that we get the most peak hour productions during the whole entire year, but so that we can get as much solar power working for you when you're home during those peak hours. And this might be one of those things where you pick 3 to 8 p.m. for peak, but even or 4 to 9 based on when you get home. But this is where we need to then, if you do work from home, we need to then kind of spread out those solar panels so it's flattening the curve, so to speak. So it's generating the most amount of power while you're actually using it. And when it's overproducing, it's going to the battery so you can use it at nighttime. Because if you're up from 6 to 9, 10 p.m. and you go to bed, your consumption is going to drop a lot. And in fact, right now our solar, the air conditioning is off, and right now our demand plummeted. So we're at not even 0.2 kilowatts. So we're still 100% powered by the grid. No, sorry. We are. So what's happening actually right now, if you look at this, the solar is recharging the battery, and that's what the priority is. It's recharging the battery. Meanwhile, we're pulling two kilowatt hours from the grid. That's funny. If I move the settings over, it would be coming from, it wouldn't be recharging the power wall. It would actually be going to the house instead of the grid. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So right now it's on 100%. Let's go back down to 70%. And so that's it. And if I go back in just a second, it's gonna, let's see if we can do it real time, if it's gonna do that. Oh, see, it just switched over. So now we're getting 0.4 kilowatts from solar. The demand for the home is 0.2, and our power wall is providing, actually, what's happening? Oh, the solar is splitting between the house and the power wall. Isn't that cool? So technology is cool. I have to thank all the people that are creating these batteries out there, because it is pretty awesome. So will adding panels or battery knock us off NEM 2.0 onto 3.0? I was wondering what we'd pay when 2.0 expires in 2036, as just an example. Well, Jay, that's another, you ask really good questions, and that's another loaded question, and I'm happy to answer that. So to maintain your 2.0 status for another 13 years, you can't increase your existing system size by more than 10%. So if you have, say, a 10 kilowatt system, you can't add more than a kilowatt of solar before you get kicked out of NEM 2.0. So if it's 1.5 kilo or let's call it 1.6 kilowatts of solar, you'd be kicked out of NEM 2.0. Not worth it. Secondly, most installers are not going to install just 1.4 kilowatt system or kilowatts of solar as a second system onto your home existing system. So that's another thing. Same with batteries. Batteries, if you just added batteries now, you would be okay. But this is what I would do. Your system in 13 years is still going to be working for you, probably at 85% output of what you started out with 7 years ago. What I would do then, your home situation may be changing. Yes, you may be getting EVs. Yes, some of your appliances might turn into electric, but maybe you have kids at home right now that are going to go off to college. If that's the case, then maybe the consumption might drop. If this is your forever home, you may then be looking at adding more solar and storage to avoid having net billing or true ups under the new under NEM 3.0, if that's still the policy. So it's really kind of a big one. It's kind of one of those wait and see thing. But again, if you were paying the utility for what your house has currently, the offset it would be you probably would have a $6,000-$7,000, maybe $8,000 electricity bill every single year from PG&E if you didn't have your solar. So again, I'm okay with a $200-$300 true up under NEM 2.0. Because again, no solar company is going to install only 4 panels. I think the minimum that one of my solar companies will install is 6 panels. And most, believe it or not, will not install just the battery by itself. If you find one that's willing to do it, they'll do it, but it'll probably cost anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000 just for that standalone battery. And it's still construction. You still have to get permits. You still have to go through the electrical loads calculation. My hair is kind of crazy right now. But you still are going to have to go through that whole entire process just to add a battery. So yes, you still can use the utility company as your big backup battery, and perhaps things will change. Maybe you're not going to have a $200-$300 true up next year. Maybe you're going to shift your loads a little bit better. Or maybe it is one of those things where things have truly changed and you just have to live with that true up. And you'll always know where you're at with the utility and your true up if you go online and look at where you're at. So under NEM 3.0, for every homeowner in California who is yet to go solar, it's really important to size it per when you're home. Like it really comes down to that. It's two different systems, suggestions, 2 different solar panel layouts. If you have a roof that can accommodate NEM 3.0, if you're working, like I work from home. So, but our demand isn't huge during the day, even when I am home. The biggest demand is in the peak hours, truly in the summertime when we're running our air conditioning, if it's really hot out, which it has been. So people like in Arizona, where they're in SRP utilities, they put everything on the west. They forget the load controller for most people, but they're going to go with they should go with storage to carry them through. But then as soon as during those peak hours, because as soon as non-peak comes, their rates for kilowatt hours for non-peaks drops dramatically. So they still are going to do solar, maybe battery, and still pay the utility, because what they're paying the utility is far dramatically less than what Californians are paying for non-peak time of day. So, oh my goodness, we're 90 minutes in. I think I answered everyone's questions about how true-ups work, why they might get them, what would happen in a situation under NEM 3.0 if you don't have enough battery, and even if you do have enough battery, but you still use more energy than solar and the batteries are going to provide for you, say in the wintertime, maybe, you will then have a true up, and the true ups happen on a monthly basis. That is what you pay the utility company. And then if you overproduce, you're only going to get between 6 and 8 cents a kilowatt hour back, and you're going to pay that, or the utility company pays you that back once a year at your annual true up. The other thing that I'm going to talk about just briefly, and we're going to talk, since I have a battery, I don't let the utility company, and you have this ability to do this, I think. Oh, and I'm going to talk about the 2 different batteries. So we might go in for another 10 minutes, maybe less, if I can get this all out. There is incentive. The utility companies are incentivizing homeowners to be able to pull back from energy from the batteries. You probably don't want to set that up. And they might say, well, we'll pay you $2 a kilowatt hour for storage if we can pull it from your battery, because we want to stabilize the grid. I just don't like the idea of letting the utility come and get energy from my battery. I paid for my battery. They didn't. And what they will pay for my battery, or what they'll pay me for the energy they pull from my battery, isn't ever going to pay for my battery. So I am okay with being a little bit selfish and using my battery for my home for self-consumption when I need it, so that I'm not buying it from the grid. There is times when it's going to be $2, but that's for like literally 2 weeks out of the year. Everything else, they're going to pay you like 15 cents or 20 cents. It's really not comparable. There's a chart out there that shows that the the rates that they'll pay for pulling energy from a battery. And it just doesn't, to me, seem to pencil out, even though they're saying, oh, we'll give you an $1,800 rebate for doing that. If you're using your battery on a day-to-day basis under NEM 3.0, you want to use your battery when you need it. And not every single day is sunny, even in California. We still have fires happening. We still have cloud cover. We still have rainstorms. We still have that. And there's going to be times in those situations, if we go through our battery, we're going to be pulling from the grid. And in NEM 3.0, that is when you're going to have a true up on that monthly billing cycle. So that's where we're likely going to see true ups is in the wintertime or during fire season. Thankfully, I don't think there's too many fires going on right now. But there was one not too far away from where I was staying in Temecula last weekend. There was a fire just north of Temecula. So I was down there visiting some friends. So that's the situation there. Now, going back to the batteries, there are self-consumption batteries, and then there's the full self-consumption and backup battery. Tesla Powerwall is always going to be self-consumption and backup. As you've seen me show my app, I can determine how much it's going to be. If you get solar under NEM 3.0 and you opt for self-consumption batteries only, it's going to be way less money out of your pocket or financed or whatever, however you do it, to get those self-consumption only batteries. There are components in the batteries that they need to turn on or include to be able to make it self-consumption plus backup. And when there's a power outage, like there was yesterday that we forced because we overloaded our main with all of the demand in our house, if that's the case, and if I had a self-consumption battery only and the power went out, and the grid goes down, we wouldn't have a battery. We wouldn't be able to use our battery. So we're still back to the situation of having solar and being like grid tied, if you will. So if you live in an area where maybe you have a sump pump, a well pump, and maybe a septic pump, or a sewer pump or something like that. And if your power goes out and you're like SOL, like you need power, or you don't have a generator yet, and you should probably then in those situations, you may want to get a full self-consumption plus backup battery. And those are going to be your standard, typical, Tesla, Enphase, Solar Edge, Franklin Whole Home. I just met with Fortress Power last week, and I think that they do a lot through just distributors. So I don't actually know what installers but they have like 25,000 homeowners on their battery. But that being said, a lot of these, and I know Storage batteries, they're backup and self-consumption combined. But in response to NEM 3.0, a lot of battery manufacturers are now coming out with self-consumption batteries only. And Enphase is one of them. I believe Solar Edge is one of them. And then also LG is another one. But these batteries are going to be self-consumption. It's housed in the same battery casing and everything, but it's self-consumption only. And that is much more economical than the full backup battery and self-consumption. So depending on where you're at price point, and you want just to be able to be solar powered and have the self-consumption there for you for when the sun goes down until the sun comes up again, that might be the right solution for you. You're still going to need enough storage to accommodate what your house demands during non-solar production hours. And so that's the other thing about batteries. There's different batteries on the market. And most of these batteries can stack. They can stack up each other, so you don't have to be limited to 10 kilowatt hours of stored power. Maybe you can go up to 20, or Enphase goes by increments of 3. SunVault, I think, is a 10 kilowatt. SunPower is a 13 kilowatt. I think there's different storage sizes, and a lot of times they can stack. So that means you can just have more storage available to you based on your demand and your needs. So there we go. I think I got that done within the 10 minutes. It's crazy to me that the energy costs continue to go up. I'm on the Tesla forum or Facebook groups, and I see people all the time talking about the differences of what people pay for electricity. California continues to remain one of the most expensive utilities or states with utility costs on the West Coast. And so therefore, it still makes incredible economic sense to get solar installed on your home, including the batteries. So I want to just let you know that you can go to my website, JamieGreeneTheSolarQueen.com, and there's like a little video there of me and a form that you can fill out, and you can go and self-schedule an appointment on my calendar that is convenient for yours, and we can have a solar appointment, or we can have a discovery call to discuss your home in greater detail. It is a little bit longer conversation than what it used to be with NEM 2.0, simply because it has literally taken an hour and 45 minutes for me to talk about why people get true ups and how to avoid that or minimize the true up on a monthly basis with NEM 3.0. We just need to customize it to your home. So one of the things that you can do to prepare, if you want to meet with me, or if you don't want to meet with me and somebody else, that's perfectly okay, is to get your 12 months of historic usage, that data. It could be in the form of utility bills. It could be, one, you're going to still need to get the utility bill. So download the utility bill, but you should be able to get the green button data to download the intervals. Firstly, you can get the last 12 months of usage, total usage, but then you need to download the interval data. And I would encourage you to get two sets of data, one for wintertime, say December, and one for July for summer, or whenever your highest usage point is in the summer, because it's hot all the way into October. So maybe it might be August or September, but go ahead and get that data, because we want to look at what's the most amount of energy you're using from 4 to 9 a.m. In the wintertime, and what's the most amount of energy that you're using from 4 to 9 a.m. in the summertime. Granted, like you see, my solar system at 7:45 is now dropping off to about 0. It's at 2.2, and the house is demanding 0.6. So it is right around this time that energy is dropping off. And as we get into the fall months, it's going to drop off even more. So we really need to have those data points there, so we know how much solar energy you're using. So we make sure we get you enough storage to carry you through those times. So that's that. So you can go to JamieGreeneTheSolarQueen.com, fill that out. There's a little questionnaire there that you'll fill out, and then you'll have the opportunity to book an appointment on my schedule. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to be on vacation. But that being said, I will still be able, I'm going to still keep some time available to take an appointment here or there as I want to while we're on vacation. So that being said, that is it. If you are watching on YouTube and you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it. If you know people who are looking into solar, feel free to pass my information along. I help a ton of people in California, but I also can help people in Arizona, Nevada, Texas, Florida, all the other states, New York. I'm going to be getting into the New York market just because my mom lives there, and so she knows people there. But I can sell solar, lease solar in those states. And there's a lot of great incentives in New York, New Jersey, things like that. So I know not everyone watches in California, but and occasionally other states. So you're welcome to reach out to me. If you reach out to me and you live in a state I can't service, I will try and connect you with someone who can, that I know, like, and trust, and who will take good care of you. So happy Sunday to everybody. If you are sizzling in the heat, I hope you stay cool, and we'll see you guys in the next live stream. I don't know that I'm going to be going live next week because I do have to fly out to New York for like literally 48 hours. And you know what? I will be back in time because I'll be landing early on Sunday, a week from now. But and then I'll try and go live then. So if you have any solar questions that you want me to answer on my live, make sure to comment and let me know, and I'll do that. So thanks so much for watching, and have a great night.